Hey everyone, this is Burton Langell. I hope you're all well today and try to get myself centered on this monitor. Can you hear me okay? Can you give me a yes or no in comments? That would be really appreciated. And perhaps you could tell me where you are, what you do. Do you use English? Would you like to use English more? Just please interact. It makes it a lot more interesting for all of us. That'd be greatly appreciated. Now, let's talk about English for leaders. And I'll have to divert my eyes sometimes and look at these um, slides. Now, what's the first one mean to you? The culture of any organization is shaped by the worst behavior the leader is willing to tolerate. What's that mean? Does anybody have some ideas? Is this negative or could it be positive? Is it just about clarity or is it about totalitarianism? Isms. Yeah. Do you think that all of us need to be salespeople sometimes? We need to be influencers. We need to sell ideas. We need to motivate. What do you think of this idea? This is taken from a famous study, and they studied 50,000 leaders, salespeople, people who influence, persuade others. And it kind of debunked a lot of different ideas that closing, just making a lot of small talk in the beginning, some small talk, building trust is important. But usually we're busy in business. I guess maybe that's why they call it business, right? We're busy doing our business. So we have a problem, we have a situation, and we need the team to get engaged, to make it part of their thing. We need to sell the idea. We need to let them know it's important that we handle this. You know, we say the elephant in the room. What is the elephant in the room? Does anybody know this? Most languages have a term that's kind of the same thing. The elephant in the room is a situation where we have a problem, we have something that we really would prefer not to address, but it's so important that we must talk about it. So that elephant's sitting there and everybody's ignoring it. So it could be the situation. It's just not working properly. And then we need to get to the problem. Sometimes we feel the symptoms of a problem. My clients in English, let me change my screen here. My clients in English often say, I can't speak during meetings. I feel embarrassed. I'm nervous. I can't think of the right word. Now, that's a symptom of a problem. Maybe you have a client that you just can't seem to satisfy, and you're getting pushback from the client on it. The client doesn't seem to agree. You can't seem to get clear direction from them. But the bigger problem may be they just don't know what they want. And we haven't done enough investigating. We haven't asked all the right questions to take those implicit ideas and make them explicit. So take those things that they feel and to vocalize them, to realize what the problem is. And then we can implement, we can make changes. And that's kind of what business is about. You might meet the team and they feel a problem, but they don't know what it really is. They're feeling the symptoms of the problem. And as a manager, as a leader, we have to be able to address this. And we need to sell them on solving this problem and what it's going to do, and what it's going to do for the team, what it's going to do for the client. Now, as a manager, you might say something and you're thinking of it in a certain way. So we say we need to drive results, and we should use we instead of I. But the team might see it a different way, right? They might see it as, well, we have to work really hard. We're going to have 2 extra hours of work now. We're going to have work that we can't manage. What's the expectation? So as a manager, we need to be clear, and we need to be concise, and they need to understand the why, and let them come in and suggest the hows, unless they're just not coming up with it, and then maybe you suggest it. The why and the when and the what. These are all the basic things that we need to know. We need to understand our mission. We need to understand the objective. We can't get there if we don't know it. So clarity is very important, isn't it? Write in the comments. Tell me, what do you think makes a really good manager? Can you express it in 1 or 2 words? I'd love to hear what you have to say. And please let me know if you can hear me. Nobody's told me yes, just yes or no. So the manager says, we need to ensure accountability. Now, accountability is very important, isn't it? No organization can get along if it doesn't have an income statement, a balance sheet, use of cash flow statements. We need to know where we are. We need to know we're making progress. But sometimes it can be taken as being negative, as being kind of the stick. Make your quota. If you don't make your quota, this is going to happen. Which is true to a certain extent, but making the quota has a lot of factors involved, right? If you're in the sales department, you need the assistance of the marketing department. And you need help in delivering the results. Business doesn't just sell something, it needs to deliver. We need to attract new clients, keep the new clients. We need to bring them to the organization, and then we need to deliver the services effectively. And there are many moving parts. And as a manager, you need to bring all those moving parts together, don't you? Or do you bring them together, or the team together brings them about? Think about this. Do you have any ideas on it? Somebody says, we need to execute this flawlessly. Now, if it's being directed to us around the table, some of us might think, well, oh boy, they're not going to tolerate any human mistakes or anything here. I'm going to be under a microscope. Maybe I'm going to be micromanaged. But it doesn't have to be that way. As you all know, and in agile management and that, we need to accept that mistakes are made. Sometimes we go in the wrong direction, and we need to pivot. We need to change direction. Sometimes we don't know how it's going to end up. So mistakes are allowed. But together we solve the mistakes. The team solves the mistakes. And we learn. It's the same in English. When I'm teaching people, if they're so focused on not making mistakes, they have no fluency. Fluency and accuracy were counter to each other. And in business English, we promote fluency first. You need to just express your ideas, get the message out there. If you miss the preposition or you get the tense wrong or something, it's not a big deal. But if you don't deliver the message because you're afraid to speak, or you just you're thinking so much about your English that it's just not delivered well, then that's a problem. So we need to be willing to make mistakes. Relentless focus. Yeah, we'll look at it very carefully. Be relentless. Well, relentless is a goal. Relentless is something we're focused on doing. We want to get to those really good, successful positions, but we know that we need that minimal viable solution first. And then we build on it. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Most of my students are IT and business people, have gone through this stuff a lot. But management, leadership is more about how we do it than what we say in that. It's how we listen, how we respond to people, to kindness, but also leadership, getting people to respect us because we're very clear on what the situation is, what the problem is, what are the implications, and what is the payback for solving this problem. Do you agree with this? Do you find any fault with it? Let me know. Now, I know a lot of you, well, everybody here, except for me, I guess, is not a natural English speaker. So you're probably a little nervous about putting something in the chat, but don't be nervous about it. I'm not going to put it on the screen. We'll just give us something to talk about. So I'd love to hear from you. Be strategic. Yeah. We need to think big. We need to get above the details sometimes. And then after, we can look at the details in each part of the problem. But yeah, some people find this a little overwhelming or a little fluffy, unclear. But if we don't know where we're going, if we don't know what the essentials are, then we don't have a goal post, right? We don't have any place to put that ball. And a couple of little idioms. We need to get our ducks in a row. So we need to get things organized. So team, we need to get our ducks in a row. So we have to plan, we have to organize. And then we want to, I'm losing my thought. We need to hit the ground running. We need to plan it so well that we know where we are for that first scrum or whatever, and we know what the big picture is. And then we can hit the ground running and get the ball rolling, get started. So hit the ball running is when you know what you're doing. Sometimes somebody quits in the organization, you need to replace them. And the smart person's going to go out there and find somebody who has done this before, the same kinds of issues, and somebody can work with the team and get them in there. Yeah, maybe you pay a lot more, but you hit the ground running. It doesn't take a whole lot of training. You don't have to train them from zero. So, and then we get the ball rolling. We get started, and we want to keep that ball rolling. Optimize. We need to optimize. We need to be efficient. We need to be effective. So somebody might read it as change is coming. That's the negative way. But we see it as let's make things better. There's room here. We're a team. We speak to each other. We're understanding. We're responsive listeners. We take time. We state our opinions. We don't judge each other. So here are some opening remarks you could use. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into some exciting tech developments that I can't wait to share with you. Now, that's a hook, isn't it? So a hook can start with a rhetorical statement. You'll learn something so important today, it will really change your career. It can be something shocking. We had a major failure and it cost us X amount. And we're here to solve this problem. Let's get on with it. We need a hook. Every presentation, whatever, needs a hook, doesn't it? Today, we're talking about how you can be better leaders, or how you can become a leader, or how you can lead as a software developer on the team, but you still lead. You show your knowledge and you work with people and you give value to the team, right? So, and then it could be, it's great to see you all here today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for attending. Let's explore some ideas. So we're building a team. We're thinking team-wise. Let's run through the main points. So I'm not going to keep you in the dark. This is what I want to cover. First, let's talk about the situation. Then we'll consider what the problem is together and the implications. What are the effects of these problems? And then let's dive into the solutions and the outcome that we're looking for. And we'll also probably talk about the takeaway. What's the ultimate takeaway from this meeting? We can leave that to the conclusion. And everything is about building a strong team, isn't it? And when somebody's not pulling their weight, there's a few ways to look at this. We have the old sandwich method, right? I really like this about you. However, we're having some roadblocks because you're not getting this information to the rest of the team. And if you were to do this, then we would fly through and we'd have a great result, wouldn't we? Or it's, hey, you're affecting the team this way. We need your help. Let's get this done. It's a number of ways to look at these things. And leadership is an art form, isn't it? You all have your individual, unique ways of leading. Just don't be a micromanager. Don't be an insecure manager. Be willing to listen to the team members, the people who are on the ground doing the work, who are facing the problem. I know this is probably the way you are. And brainstorming, get those ideas out there. We're more than just a team. I used to do a lot of flying. I had a little airplane and I'd fly around. I took it from Phoenix, Arizona to here in Nova Scotia, Canada on the Atlantic. Took it to Florida, took it to Toronto, took it different places. It was a lot of fun. But, In flying, we say 1 plus 1 equals 3. Does that make any sense? How could that be? How could 1 plus 1 equal 3? Well, if there's two of you working together, it's more than the sum of each of you. Together, we can create great things. And that's the thing about teamwork, isn't it? The team has so much power over just the individual. And it's the same in flying. You have the pilot and the other pilot. One is looking after communications and navigation and going through checklists, and the other one is flying the airplane. You wouldn't be too happy if you got in a 737 going somewhere and you realized there was only one pilot up there. What's going on? Yeah, it doesn't work. Overcoming challenges. Yeah, we hit a roadblock. What do? We need a leader. And we need a team that listens to the leader, but is willing to communicate with the leader. You need to be able to get up in the meeting and speak. A lot of my students have a real fear of speaking in meetings. And all my students are intermediate and advanced English speakers. So their English is not really the problem. The problem is their mindset. It's what they think of their English. And it's often just plain overthinking. That's the human problem, isn't it? Overthinking. We all are challenged by that. I'm challenged by it. What do we do about this? Well, we visualize, we practice. We don't necessarily study. It's good to pick up a little bit of language every so often, but only if you use it, only if you can start using it. I always say, if you have 4 or 5 really good business idioms in English, people will be amazed by your business English. And remember, in meetings, we just typically use the same language over and over again in the positive or the negative, with some phrasal verbs and some buzzwords and some informal and formal words thrown in, but it's all the same language. It doesn't really take much. I do a 10-week course, and in that 10 weeks, we transform the language. Working together, we transform your language. And it's really, people say, well, how can you do that in 10 meetings? It's not that difficult, believe me, because once you get into it, you realize the language is just about the same. And it's how we deliver. That's why I call myself a business English communications coach. I'm not necessarily an English teacher. And that's what it's about. It's how we use our hands, how we use our eye contact. It's the tone of our voice that we're using. It's the words are important, but the words are not as big as those other things. It's how we deliver. If we're smiling, we can say just about anything. We could just about insult somebody and they wouldn't even realize if we're smiling. They'd say, well, it must be a good motive for saying this. And I try not to insult people. But sometimes maybe I'm a little too passionate about what I'm talking about, and perhaps people take it the wrong way. So we do need to think about our clear language. Clear language is the most important in business. You don't even need those idioms, but if you know 4 or 5 good business idioms, like I was saying, we need to hit the road running. Sometimes we need to go back to square one, go back to the drawing board. We need to get the ball rolling, keep the ball rolling, get our ducks lined up in a row. These are all good idioms. They express a lot. And just let me know idiom, kind of what you like to communicate, and then we can find a good idiom that you can adopt that become part of your language. And language is no good unless it's right there, ready for your use. We need to be building neural networks, even as basic as doing tongue twisters to just cement the pronunciation, minimal pairs, words close together, and just practice those. Get your phone out. I know if you've ever watched me, I've said this umpteen times. Get your phone out, record yourself. And before every meeting, I want you to read out loud in English for 2 or 3 minutes. This will open up your English mind. It will give you a lot more confidence. It will heighten your vocabulary, increase your vocabulary. It will just iron out, polish your pronunciation, your grammar, intonation, all those good things. And you won't have to think about it so much. You're just, it's part of you. All these exercise it's like training your AI application. You're building new neural networks up here. You've got your English mind, you've got your Portuguese or your Spanish or your French mind or a Mandarin mind, and you're building new networks that step in. And this is why I say try to stay away from translation. Only if you're a beginner, elementary, and that is there any place for translation. Don't be going to English Mandarin dictionaries or English Spanish dictionaries. Always look for a definition in English. I'd really like to hear some questions. I've spoken now for 27 minutes and I haven't heard from anybody. I know there's probably 10, 15 people sitting out there listening to this guy, and I'd like to hear from you. And also, I have a quiz. I really like it if people do the quiz. It's called a scorecard, but it's not really, because I have to figure out the points on it. It's not about getting a score. It's about understanding the areas that you need help with in business English, in meetings, presentations, very specific statements that you could identify with or not identify with. And this will give you a pathway, a roadmap to improve your business English in 2024. DM me, comment, whatever you want to do. I'm very available. I typically only work with 10 to 15 clients a week. And I do have courses. I have a free course on making small talk. Anything that I can help you with, I'm here. Just DM me. I'm not a sales guy. I'm just you'll find me very consultative. I'm here to help. So if there are no other questions, I don't see anything in the comments. And sometimes the comments don't come through on this. So if that's the case, please forgive me, and I will respond to your comments after this. Last week when I did it, I realized they didn't come through. And there are quite a few recordings of different events I've done. So if you have a problem that I haven't covered today, you may find some answers in those. And one thing is crazy. I produce a lot of little TikTok videos, which is really an interesting idea in being concise. I try to keep them under a minute so I can put them on YouTube or Instagram too. So thank you very much for coming. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week and enjoy your weekend. Take time for yourself. Remember that work-life balance, right? Spend time with your families. Chill out a bit. Do something that's not just work. Okay. Great. Bye. My name's Burton Langell again.